The most deadly 6 years of the 20th century. This war killed over 60 million people. This war created the biggest mass murder the world has ever seen, but also helped the Americans get out of the Depression. This war was fought from the four corners of the world for the second time, killing 4 times as many people and lasting 2 more years. This was World War II. On January 30th, 1933, in Berlin, Germany, Adolf Hitler legally became the Chancellor of Germany. At this time, America was in the Depression. America's favorite athlete, Babe Ruth, was on his way to his 8th World Series win. However, when Hitler comes to power in Germany, everything changes. In a few months, Hitler and his Nazi officials have taken over Germany, making it a Nazi dictatorship. As well as the new looks, they enforce new laws. They are aimed towards Jews, Jehovah's Witnesses, homosexuals, Africans, Polish, and anyone who isn't really originally German. They slowly get new restrictions like the Jew star badges on clothes or Jehovah's Witnesses schools. Hitler gains power and spreads propaganda towards minorities, blaming them for World War I, recessions, and taking their jobs. The German people finding relations with the Nazis often believe and go along with what Hitler says. Later, in 1936, Hitler tries to convince the world the new Germany is moral and right by hosting the 1936 Summer Olympic Games. Many countries contemplate going like the United States. However, many go like the famous Jesse Owens, winning many medals, but are very skeptical of the new Nazi Germany. Their suspicions become true on September 1st, 1939, when Nazi Germany invades Poland, starting World War II. Soon, many countries fear getting attacked by Germany, and many armies flare up, staying neutral in the conflict to avoid almost inevitable war. Over the next few years, Germany gains many countries around it like Norway, France, Belgium, Netherlands, Finland, Denmark, and many parts of the USSR. Full-on war breaks out through Europe. Italy helps Germany in the fight against Europe, while Japan helps fight against China and Southeastern Asia countries as well as South Pacific islands. These countries are known as the Axis powers, led by Adolf Hitler from Nazi Germany, Benito Mussolini from Italy, and Emperor Hirohito from Imperial Japan. However, Britain, Canada, the USSR, many guerrilla groups from taken over countries, and eventually the United States fight these countries and become known as the Allies powers. They are led by Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of Britain, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, from the President of the United States, and Joseph Stalin, the leader of the USSR. Before 1941, America was still neutral in World War II. However, they often fed Britain and the USSR supplies such as weapons and food. This changed on December 7, 1941, the day that will live in infamy. This day was known as Pearl Harbor. Over 130 Japanese airplanes and bombers opened fire on American naval base Pearl Harbor, killing over 1,000 sailors and sinking over 20 ships. This surprise attack lands Americans in shock and ready for war. The next day, America officially joins the Allied powers in World War II. Over on the other side of the world, thousands struggle and die in concentration camps created by Nazi Germany. Many camps were created throughout Europe, mostly in Germany and Poland, like Auschwitz and Drancy, for Hitler's final solution. They are created to work the minorities to death. As the camps are liberated in 1945, over 6 million Jews are considered dead, often by overworking, exhaustion, or starvation. The war dragged on in Europe, with Hitler invading the USSR in July of 1941. However, the United States went on the offensive in Europe on September 3, 1943, when the Americans landed on the southern coast of Italy. Earlier, the British and Canadians landed in northern Africa in countries like Morocco and Algeria, blocking back Axis expansion into Africa. The Allies eventually won the war on the southern front, capturing over 400,000 Axis troops as prisoners. As the Allies pushed up Italy and defended western Russia, the Americans also fought more battles in the South Pacific. The United States attacked Midway Island on April 1st, 1942. The United States fought many more battles on small islands throughout the South Pacific occupied by Axis Japan. These battles were often high-casualty battles lasting many days, but the United States often won these battles. One of the most highest casualty battles was the Battle of Iwo Jima. This battle began on February 19th, 1945 and lasted until March 27th, 1945. This was one of the longest and most famous battles of World War II. This battle was famous for its picture of the 6 Americans raising the United States flag on Iwo Jima. Tragically, only 2 survived the end of the battle. In Europe, other invasions take place, allowing the Allied forces to slowly regain Europe. The biggest land takeover of World War II may have been June 6, 1944. Over 156 Allied troops attacked the northern French beaches of Normandy. In just a day, these 156,000 troops take over these beaches while being attacked by 50,000 Axis troops that are highly armed and skilled. This gave the Allies power to fight back against the Axis and regain areas captured by Germany and defeat the Axis. Over the next year, the Allies regained many countries and fought back all the way to Berlin, the capital of Nazi Germany, by April 1945. 1 month later, the Germans gave up and surrendered to the Allies. 3 months later, the Americans' Project Manhattan was a success. This project was the development of the atomic bomb. Then, on August 6, 1945, the United States and the Allies dropped one atomic bomb, Little Boy, on Japanese city Hiroshima. After the Japanese refused to surrender, the United States dropped another atomic bomb, Fat Man, on another Japanese city, Nagasaki, 3 days later. After the bombing, 6 days later, the Japanese surrendered, formally ending World War II.